Hello and welcome to Loading Ready Run's semi-annual coverage of the Oak Bay Tea Party Parade.
That's right, Kathleen. Everybody wants to know who they are, where they go,
and why they're so loud. I'm Kathleen.
And I'm Ian. We're back, baby!
I'd like to thank our sponsors for this bit, the Oak Bay Pharmasave, who inexplicably did not learn their lesson from last time.
Let's hope they don't learn it this time.
Speaking of learning our lessons, as you can see, there's nothing going on behind us. And since we already made all those jokes last time we did this, let's go down to the street and see what's not going on down there.
Thanks, lovers. I'm here on Oak Bay Avenue for some reason. Not entirely certain why, but I'm happy to be out. And there's all sorts of people on the streets. As you can hear, the chaos is about to erupt. I'm a little concerned about what's happening. I'm just gonna here.
Hi, Serge here. Beej hit his head and doesn't know where he is, but the doctor cleared him and said, honestly, a little bit of stimulation is supposed to be good for him, so let's just let him have some fun, okay? Where did he go? Oh, God.
I'm casting my eyes out over the parade route right now, and it is absolute bedlam. Dogs and women running together, children unrestrained on the streets, and bicycles everywhere. Chaos, I tell you.
I'm actually pretty into that vibe, to be honest with you. The last time we did the Oak Bay Tea Party Parade, I don't recall there were quite so many dogs around. If you're a dog enthusiast, there's a lot of good dogs down on the street. You want to do a dog bit?
Thanks, Ian and Kathleen. I'm actively trying to find Beej, and he can't have gotten far. The poor confused... Oh, I found him. Beej? Time to get back to work, Beej.
Thanks, man. Back to you.
Uh-oh, Kathleen, things are heating up.
That's right, the fuzz is on to us. No, the parade is starting. I think, contrary to my lived experiences, I think the sirens mean that the fun's about to start and that I'm going to get interrupted a lot, which actually is very applicable to my lived experience, to be honest with you.
I'm mostly worried about the massive hearing damage that's going to be happening thanks to these sirens upon all of the children attending here today.
Ooh, and speaking of people who don't care about safety, let's go down to our men on the street.
Thanks, everyone. If a stranger handed me candy, I'd probably eat it. I don't even think I would check to see if the wrapper was intact. At this point in my life, what's it gonna do to me? Or you? Back to you.
Ooh, old-timey sirens.
I love me a good wailing siren, Kathleen, and these trucks are polished and painted to the nines.
That's a 1952 Kenworth, as the helpful sticker on the side has informed me.
I'm guessing that's pretty close to the vintage of those people piloting these trucks themselves.
Well, I'd say that's actually quite a conservative estimate for Oak Bay, but you know what? I'm sure many people will find that flattering. Speaking of people who like to be flattered, let's go down to the street.
I have a headache for some weird reason. Back to you.
Ian, do you hear that drone in the distance? Do you know what that means?
Kathleen, could it be time for the triumphant return of step-based music?
That's right, Ian. It's the Oak Bay High Marching Band, rendering the hits of today, yesterday, and our grandparents' days reasonably well, yet still not really able to be made out.
It's like a radio station that the police have cordoned off. Well, the floor routines are back, but the concrete is as hard as ever. Kids today are amazing.
We can only thank the phasing out of lead paint in the 1980s. Speaking of lead paint, let's go down to our man on the street. Surfing USA. Isn't it? It's Surfing
Yes, it
USA.
is.
Thanks, guys. This is quite cool. I didn't think we'd be seeing dancing in the streets today this soon. But I guess the war is over. Back to you.
And the drum fanfare absolutely tells us what's about to begin. That's right. It's time for a Star Wars. Damn it.
This is not. This is, I get by with a little help from my friends.
Correct. Made famous by Joe Cocker, but in fact made by Paul McCartney.
I mean, the Beatles version's pretty famous, too. Did Joe Cocker really popularize that song?
Oh, candy. She'll have yet another one. This one has dirt on it. I'll eat this one later. Back to you.
Coming up next, it's one of our local realtors. Remember, if you need to sell your home, trust the man with an incredibly old car?
Well, I mean, an incredibly old and expensive car, so you know they're working really hard for their money.
And they can afford a garage.
Guillotines. I mean, back to the street.
Thanks, my friends. Apparently, amazing bargains are to be had here on the streets as well. You can get 10% off every Sunday of something. Back to you.
I'd like to thank the Urban Grocer, not for giving out candy or anything tangible, but for giving away the information of 10% off every Tuesday.
You know what? I know that you can basically just pay $100 and just use this as an excuse to advertise your business to a literal captive audience, but I'm going to give them a pass just because I like deals.
Something everyone can use.
Speaking of men who like deals, let's go down to our man on the street.
Thanks, good looking. If you are also a person who likes to walk along the street like all these people are doing, I recommend shoes. Shoes. You can't eat just one. Back to you.
Coming up again, it's another surprisingly competent high school band, this one from Reynolds High, the mortal enemies of Oak Bay High.
Their use of martial music over top of the pop hits of today and yesterday tells me that they mean business in their rivalry.
You'll notice that the Reynolds High School Band has a lot more flags than the Oak Bay High School Band. Those are, of course, deployed to confuse and enrage their enemies.
That's right, Kathleen. I believe it was Sun Tzu who said, if you can't tell who your enemy is, then you're not fighting anyone.
And speaking of not fighting anyone, hopefully, let's go down to our man on the street.
Thanks, Ian and Kathleen. I turned around for a second and Beej is gone, but I thought this would be a great chance for a coffee break. Back to you.
It's time for another one of the parade's thinly veiled advertisements. It's the Men in Kilts House Cleaning Company.
Put your hands together. Clap your hands. And make the noise.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Put your hands together, then clap, then make some noise, but not too much, because you might end up startling the Arizonan rescue dog. That is their boss.
I mean, they're playing Cotton Eye Joe, so it's like appealing to my sense of nostalgia.
Well, I know where I want to go next, and that's down to the street to check in on the street team.
Woo! I'm doing what he told me to do. Put my hands together and make some noise.
Friends, if this is the future of commuting, I'm not sure that I want to leave my house anymore. Back to you.
Ooh, if you can hear those whistles and those drums, that means it's time for the third Dark Horse entrance in the Battle Royale of the bands. This is the Spectrum School Community Marching Band.
Oh, led by bandmaster Roy G. Biv himself.
Yes, a notorious war criminal who's been given a special dispensation for today's event.
Well, you know what I'm green with envy about? Not having to be on the street like our man Beej.
Thank you, people. It does boggle the mind that this municipality has this much access to all of these marching bands, and all I can do is question, what are they for? What's about to happen? Are they all posturing right now, and at the end of this procession, are we just going to see the Jets versus the Sharks versus whatever the other band is called? It terrifies me to my bones. Back to you.
Kathleen, do you think they stop playing when they round the corner because it's too difficult for the children?
Do you think they're doing it out of respect for our bit? No, clearly it's the children who are weak.
Thanks, Plink. You know, it's encouraging to see this many people out commuting with bicycles and scooters all day. I didn't realize that this is what a normal day is like here in Oak Bay. Back to you.
Well, it's an unruly mob of children with no direction whatsoever, so it must be the Oak Bay Montessori School.
That's right. And once again proving that you don't really actually need to do a lot for a parade. You just need to put a kid on a bike and you're good to go. So I think next time we cover the parade, I'll be putting my kid on a bike. And you know what? We're just going to let loose the dogs of war and coverage.
I look forward to receiving candy myself.
I look forward to being told we're disinvited from the Oak Bay Tea Party Parade. But speaking of people who are probably going to be disinvited for the Oak Bay Tea Party Parade, let's go back to our man on the street.
Friends, I have dire news. The moorings have broken and now we're seeing boats in the middle of the street. I don't know what's going on anymore. It's moving without any sort of engine, almost under its own power. Truly, these are the end times. Back to you.
Oh my gosh, it's back again. It's the Shriner's Cursed Train.
Who says that rail has no hope here on Vancouver Island?
I keep advocating for more trains here in Victoria, but I don't think this is a good enough option. Back to you.
Do you think that Shriner's clowns are legally required to register their eggs?
I was just about to ask if they would show us your egg.
No response. You heard it here first. The Shriners unwilling to show us their eggs. However, I know that if we go down to our man on the street, that is a man who's got firm opinions about eggs.
Thanks, Drem. I'm worried all over again because I keep seeing people walking by and giving candy to children, which is fine. After all, everyone seems fine with it, so I guess I should be fine with it too. But what I'm more worried about is what happens when they run out. Will the children revolt and turn upon them and chase them in the streets and tear them asunder? They all have scooters and bikes now. Back to you.
And in a sort of opposite manner to how it begun, the Oak Bay Tea Party Parade has now come to an abrupt end.
That's right, Kathleen. It's a lot shorter and wetter than it has been in previous years, but that's a refreshing change of pace for most of the time here in desiccated Oak Bay.
And speaking of people who are desiccated, don't worry, because he's getting treatment for his skin condition. Let's go down to our man on the street for his closing thoughts.
All in all, a remarkable day. I didn't see anybody get hurt. I saw a lot of smiling faces and a lot of waving and a lot of people walking around with instruments in their hands. And frankly, that's a win. I have nothing else to say except I'm going to take 2 naproxen and lay down. Back to you.
Hey, Kathleen, do you need someplace to stay for the night, but you have too much money?
For the purpose of this bit, I will say yes.
Well, I'm sure there's someone else out there also who needs that, so they need to check out the Oak Bay Hotel.
That's right, the Oak Bay Beach Hotel. Widely regarded as a boondoggle of the time, but perhaps inching towards profitability now, it's very expensive.